Namaste, I'm Dr. Nikhita, and welcome to my interview series where we are collaborating with distinguished personalities from the health and wellness industry. Today, we have a dynamic personality who switched her career gears from marketing and photography to mental health services because she wanted to create a social impact and to bring about a change in today's world. Here we have Shreya Kothari, the counselor and founder of Moonlight Services. Hello and welcome, Shreya.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here. It's such an important thing that you're doing, getting so many people who work in, the healthcare front and the mental healthcare front who are really passionate about the subject and who want to just like bring about a little bit of a change, who want to help people. And it's so good that you're gathering a community of these kinds of people who can work together, hopefully, in the future and create like a nice integrated holistic approach towards wellness and just overall like just better health, mental and physical.
Thank you, Shreya. So, Shreya would like to know a little bit more about yourself.
So I actually grew up in Hong Kong. I was raised there. My parents lived there. Then first, like university, I was in England. And from there, I just kind of moved around a little bit. I moved to like actually 6 countries. That's a fun fact about me. I've lived in 6 different countries because I have family everywhere. And so I've had the opportunity to live with certain family members. I've lived with my aunts and uncles in Thailand. I've lived with my grandparents in Jaipur. I went to school in New York as well, and it was really nice. It was really nice having so much exposure to so many kinds of people, so many different ages from so many different backgrounds. I've definitely brought that into my work as well. Like there's just this an understanding of so many people. I've definitely tried to incorporate my experiences into my work. So that's a little bit about me. But now I moved to Bombay. I actually ended up working straight in marketing. Um, but it was just never something I was passionate about. When I studied, I went in to study either psychology or social services. Though my heart was in it, I was going through a lot of my own personal battles during that time. So I thought I'll do something a little lighter, something I can kind of emotionally cope with. So I went into marketing. It was sustainable. It was work that I knew I was good at. So, but that passion was never there. So it never, for me, like waking up in the morning and going for my job wasn't something I enjoyed. Today, get a call from someone who needs help even at 4 in the morning. I happily wake up to take this call. Now, when I say happily, I mean I'm not happy that they're distressed, but it's something I'm glad waking up for. It's something that drives me as a person. Money hasn't driven me, so I guess my job in marketing just really never sustained because of that. So that's a little bit about me.
Yes, thank you, Shreya. Also, Shreya, you shared with me that you have been an abuse survivor. So that must have been a very difficult area, as in, I mean, how did this whole transition? So was that one of the reasons why you pursued and took it upon yourself to work within that cause? And I mean, that's really brave. So, what would you like to tell today's generation about abuse? And how do you look at that, and how did you pursue this cause?
So firstly, what I'd like to tell people about abuse is there are many misconceptions right now. People, either there are two groups I've noticed in my work. Two people, one kind of group kind of thinks abuse is a very light word. They tend to think it only means कि चलो मैंने आज I've said a swear word, मैंने किसी को abuse कर दिया. Like I've just sworn at them, I've just cursed at them. That is not abuse. Of course, that is definitely crass language, but I wouldn't call that abuse. Or there's the other extreme where people think abuse is only physical violence. But that is also not the case. Of course, physical violence is involved, but there are so many forms of abuse. The main ones being physical, sexual, and emotional. So if you actually see today, yes, we have many of these one-off rape cases. This is just a little trigger warning. I will be talking a little bit about rape and abuse. So we have these one-off rape cases, like, of course, about the Nirbhaya case, and about the, when the whole India-Pakistan situation was happening, there were a few rape cases there. But what happens now, a lot of the clients that I have, spoken to, it comes from inside the house. It's someone's brother, or it's someone's stepfather, or it's someone's uncle, or it's someone's helper, their servant at home. And people don't realize that these are the ones that are actually more, that take place a lot more today, more than what happens on the streets. Of course, that is equally important. That is very, very important. But what happens with the ones at home is that it involves a lot of grooming. It involves emotional abuse. In order for someone at home to either physically or sexually abuse you, emotional abuse usually takes place. Not always, but often. Let's say, like, someone's uncle is abusing them, someone's chacha or tauji or whatever. This grooming has started from a young age, where he will start with something very soft, like an unsafe touch. He'll touch you a little inappropriately, not in a sexual area, but maybe on your body. And dheere dheere he'll build up to doing more. And they say things like, it's okay, I'm your uncle, you can trust me, or it's okay, this is completely normal. Now, if you're telling a 5-year-old child that, as an authority figure, as someone you see your parents trusting, of course you will feel like, okay, maybe he's not, maybe he's right. We still have the intuition in our body that this touch is unsafe. But now you see your parents get along with them. You see that it's such a happy family. They are getting along, they're talking. So for you, it's, as a child, you also want to trust who your parents trust. So things like that, all this grooming takes place from a very, very young age. So that involves emotional abuse. Emotional abuse is also a lot bigger than that. There are so many ways to emotionally abuse a person. I think unknowingly also, we tend to have abusive traits in us. We use probably on our friends, on our siblings. One of the biggest red flags in the beginning of emotional abuse is something I would call the silent treatment. So the silent treatment is, today, if you and I have a fight, or not even a fight, if something you have done has upset me, hurt me, or disappointed me, I will immediately stop talking to you as a form of punishment. Now, I will punish you by not talking. I won't speak to you. I will not pick up your calls. I will not answer your texts. You know that I'm reading it. You know that I am getting your calls, but I am not. Now, how is that going to make you feel? It's going to make you feel anxious. It's going to make you feel abandoned, rejected, hurt. You're constantly calling this person. That kind of ill treatment, that the other person is not even acknowledging that you exist, that is a cause for so much trauma, not only today, but for the rest of your life, for the next years to come, until you heal from it, going to therapy or however. So that is actually a really, really big red flag. That is, honestly, it's despicable. It's one of the cruelest form of punishments, to begin with. It's, you're telling that person, look, you're disposable. I don't need you in my life. I'm going to carry on happily without you. You suffer. And that's not how to treat somebody, right? So there's so many kinds of abuse. And of course, then this turns into the other person will be begging for your forgiveness. Fights will happen. Now, something like this doesn't happen once in a relationship. It'll happen again and again. Once it happens once, it'll happen again. Now, when does that anger turn into something physical? One day, the person will get so angry that he might just slap you. He might just push you. And now that turns into something more. So all these forms of traits of kinds of abuses are so, sometimes it can be just so integrated, we can't tell. And sometimes luckily, well, not luckily per se, but sometimes it's not integrated. Maybe you only experience the emotional or the physical or the sexual. It's definitely not okay it is not justifiable under any circumstances, whether you're angry, whether it's because you've seen it happen, whether it's happened to you. I'm sorry for that person. That person needs to come for counseling. That person needs to get some help. But under no circumstances is it okay, is it ever okay, no matter what, for you to indulge in any of these three forms of abuse.
Right. That's very very insightful to know, Shreya, because I think abuse, like, it's something which we are not able to recognize, like you said, like the first red flag. But I was just seeing also, like I was studying about this area, and I happened to look at a TED talk as well. So even when so it was about this lady who got physically abused by her partner. And I mean, the signs were such. I mean, she was completely enveloped in his love. Like, she was completely mesmerized like, she was drawn into him, and she was completely in love. And then she moved away. Like, the circumstances which her partner created in her life were so much into like, they were signs where she was getting into, like, those were all red flags, but she could not identify them because she was completely in love, and she did not expect, although she had experienced that abuse starting from her honeymoon, like, phase.
Yeah.
And then also she could not recognize that it was abuse, because it was coming from her partner who she actually loved. Like the example which you gave, with, when it comes to your relatives or your family or near and dear ones, you're not able to really digest the fact that it's actually abuse. So I mean, how do we really understand, like, the first, how do we pick up on these signs, in the most primitive stages, when we start to feel like this person is there a way, or how can we really predict?
So there are so many ways to go about this. For me, who's someone who survived abuse, I have actually gone most of my life going the absolute opposite direction, in the sense that if I think I find a sign, I will suddenly be like, no, 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 no. Now, like, so it goes that extreme also. Your survival mode is so high that for me, like, for example, if today I have a partner and my partner, let's say I'm telling my partner, listen, I need to talk to you. I'm not feeling too well, please. And let's say he doesn't respond very nicely, and he says, I'm a little busy. Can we talk about it later, or can you just talk to your friends about it? I will suddenly, because I'm a survivor of abuse, I will suddenly be like, oh, look at him. He doesn't actually really love me. He's actually using. Now, 500 things will go through my mind. Whereas maybe he's also just going through something. He's also human. Maybe he isn't able to be there for me. That is him setting his boundaries. And that is completely okay. So, as survivors, we tend to have this habit, not everyone, but many of us have this habit where we think almost everything is a red flag. So, that is one way it goes. The other way is, sometimes, honestly, I understand this woman, because when you are so engrossed in a relationship, when you're so indulged, I think the first thing to do is not look at your partner's behavior. It is to look at your own behavior. You have to draw your own boundaries, because today, if you don't, then anybody can abuse you. Today, even I can abuse you on this call. Even you can abuse me. There can be so much manipulation that can just easily be taken place. You have to set your own boundaries, that this is how much I will take from a person. This is how much I will endure. Everyone's tolerance is different. Today, for me, maybe taking a little bit of a manipulative behavior, a little bit of controlling behavior, I'm okay with. If my partner wants to control a little bit, maybe I'm okay with it. But maybe my friend is 100% not okay with it. Today, without being in an abusive relationship, I'm telling you that, okay, a little bit of control is okay. But the tolerance for everyone, whatever somebody wants to enjoy, is all different. So you have to look at yourself, build your own boundaries. Then the minute you see your boundaries being breached, you either talk to your partner about it, if to listening, if you know in kind of retaliate with worse behavior, or you give it a chance, maybe once or twice. But if it's not happening, I think it's just time to give that relationship up. But we have to stop trying to change our partner. If our partner is abusive, they are not going to suddenly change and not become abusive. Not कि अच्छा उसने sorry बोल दिया, it'll be fine. Give it 2-3 sorries. Let him say sorry once. Let him come back. Let him say sorry maybe 2-3 times. But if the behavior is not changing, what makes you think the third, fourth, and fifth time are going to be different? It's usually a pattern. Usually a pattern. So now if you feel like my boundary is okay, after 3 sorries, I am going to leave. Some people say okay after 10 sorries. Everyone's tolerance is different. I cannot judge them कि देखो 3 sorries के बाद ही निकलना है. You know, so for someone it's their tolerance is 10 sorries. So now the pattern repeats 10 times, then maybe it's time to leave. And then you have to ask yourself, why is this something I am willing to take? Why am I taking this kind of abuse? So for so many people, it's a sense of familiarity. Like my father used to treat me this way, or my mother used to treat me this way. So growing up, this was love for me. This is how my father expressed his love towards me. He used to hit me. He used to punish me. He used to, I don't know, whatever. And then suddenly he'll say sorry, but then he'll do it again. So now a lot of people, a lot of women and men, they tend to go for partners that have somehow fallen into the same kind of behavior as one of their parents. So for them, it's a sense of familiarity. It's a sense of home. It's a sense of what they call home, basically. It's like what they define as love. For them, this is love. They've not seen better love. They've only seen this as love. For them, it's like they don't know better. They've not seen parents that have a happy marriage. What they experience is what they know. So it's there's so many reasons people fall into it, and the way I would say, like I said, you create for yourself. Don't tell your partner that, by the way, this is my boundary. Don't do that. Create it for yourself, for your own sake, for your own inner peace. And once that is breached, and if you're still willing to stay in the relationship, be it with your partner or your father or your friend or your sibling, abusive relationships can go to any relationship. It doesn't have to be only with a romantic partner. So ask yourself about multiple. I'm so sorry, Dr. Nikhita, your video is frozen.
Mine was frozen because I actually 1 second. Yeah, so those, like you mentioned, yeah, you were telling us about the flags, the red flags. So, yeah, so the first sign, like you said, is setting your boundaries. Like that is the first precautionary measure which an individual can take by themselves. Like we discussed, when it comes to a partner, it is a different story. But when it comes to a loved one, really, recognizing and then seeking help, isn't that very challenging? Because I think it takes a lot of courage really to first accept that it is abuse coming from a loved one, like a family member. That is what I'm thinking of. And then really, I mean, what would you suggest for somebody who is facing abuse from a family member? How do you tackle that kind of situation?
Oh, that is a very difficult situation, because I'm also dealing with a couple of clients who have an abusive father, abusive mother, and there's only so much, like, the measures should be any from an emotional, from a romantic partner, because it's the same thing. You need to set your boundaries. You need to and for yourself what is okay, what is not okay. And these same things can be applied to this abusive family member as well. So now, if they breach your boundaries constantly, you can either tell them off, or you can cut them out of your life. Just because it's family doesn't mean you are obligated to stay with them. But again, then with family, so many factors fall into place. Now, one may be financially dependent on their parents. One maybe, my parents are so close to my uncle. So how can I disconnect from them? There's so many questions that happen. We have so many family trips and family gatherings. How can I avoid this person? Um, these are all very, very difficult to tackle for sure. See, when it comes to financial stability, I would say it's a very, very, very difficult thing to do. Many people can't do it for years sometimes. Like sometimes, fortunately, some people can do it from a younger age. So circumstances evolve, and it, something like financial dependence is very difficult to come out of because you're used to living a certain life. So sometimes you're like, for this comfort, it's okay. Maybe I'll just deal with my parents abusing me because I don't know how else to live. So this is something one needs to try at least, see, get a job, see if you can sustain yourself. Nobody's saying rush it. Nobody's saying become independent now and leave the house now. There is never any rush. Getting out of abuse sometimes takes years, and that is absolutely okay. So just take your time. Just focus on the right steps. Now that is if it's your parent. Now if it's some uncle or a cousin or a whatever, and you do, of course, we have weddings to go for, we have family trips to go for, all of these things. In that case, it's very, very complicated. I personally am okay with any choice the person wants to make. Either if they don't want to go for the trip at all, that is also okay. But then again, they might feel, but I am close to these other cousins, I want to go for them. So go for the trip. Avoid this person if it's possible. If this person is around, try and be in a public setting. Make sure you're not with them alone. Try and be with them around your other cousins or around your parents or around everyone. So I know it's very, very emotionally exhausting and taxing to be having to take all these measures. It is definitely, now if I see one cousin coming and I have to go run and go into my parents' room, that emotional kind of jerk that it gives to you is so tiresome. It's so draining. You just feel like crying it out. Even though you're not physically tired, emotionally having to be on high alert is very difficult. It's very difficult. So like I said, for me, it's the same thing. You draw your boundaries and try to stick to that. Again, once breached, you do have the option, just because they're blood or they're cousins or their family or they're trusted your people for your parents, doesn't mean they have to be trusted for you. A lot of my clients have that issue where they're like, but my parents trust them. Okay, let your parents trust them. You're a different person. You're not your parents. Your parents can trust them because maybe they've been good to your parents, but they're not good to you. It doesn't mean you have to trust them. So you have to cut off your ideologies from your family ideologies. It is okay to have different ideologies. It is completely okay. You don't have to share the same values and same moral compass that your family shares. Allow yourself to be your own person, because each person is so resilient. As humans, we're so resilient. We're made resilient. We're so powerful. And it's time that we take our power back into our own hands, not into our parents' hands or our friends' hands or our uncle's hands. Your power is in your hands. I'm so sorry. It got stuck again.
No worries. So, very, very well said, Shreya. Actually, I feel personally that mental health is a subject area which is really undermined in, I don't know whether I should say in our country really, but that is what I feel personally. And actually, there's something which even I, as a individual, when I was doing my bachelor's of Ayurvedic medicine, like I have taken a path, not taken, like chosen usually, like the usual outcome after a BMS degree may not be really mental health. But I want to share this story actually when I was pursuing my my internship. Actually, when I was doing my civil hospital internship, we are posted in different wards. So I was posted at the burns ward. Okay, and this is one of those wards where there are emergency cases which get admitted at the civil hospital. So there was this one patient who I clearly remember I was attending to, and it was my first night actually at the burns ward. And she came in. She was a very young girl, I think probably just about 5 years old or something, 5 or 10 years old. Yeah, quite young, I remember. And after, I mean, she had 4-degree burn, and that is something which is very bleak chances of survival. So that was the, but of course, like when we I mean, when we do the admissions, of course there's this whole line of treatment. And then the next day I had gone to, do her dressing. And I mean, it was afternoon time, and she had already met her relatives, in the morning. So she was of course in a very bad condition, but more so her relatives had already convinced her that she wasn't going to make it through. Like, she had already lost the hope somewhere. Because when I was there and I was doing I mean, when I was having a conversation, like, she was asking again and again, am I going to be able to make it? Because I feel like I don't think I'm going to be able to make it. So I mean, I mean, that's when it kind of just stuck me so hard that there's such an important element over here, especially when people are in this condition wherein their survival rate may be less, but if they are mentally already defeated, they are never going to be able to make it through. And that's when it, like, I had already decided that, I mean, yes, this is an area which is very close to my heart, and I feel like a lot of awareness has to come about in the way people speak and think as well, because
100%.
education is just not there, like, so yeah. So
Have you watched all these, you watch Bollywood movies at all?
of course, yeah.
Bollywood, yeah, even Hollywood. So have you seen any of these near-death scenes where someone's about to die, they're in the hospital bed, and suddenly and they have some dream or another playing, and then suddenly in that dream, someone in the dream is telling them, you have to wake up, you have to, and suddenly the star of the movie suddenly wakes up and he's alive and he's well. That is a very accurate representation of what actually goes on inside us. So now today, if I am in the hospital, God forbid, if I'm in the hospital near death, um, I'm not saying I'm going to have these dreams, but that strength, that inner strength that is telling you to just wake up when you're about to die, is 100% fully mental and emotional. Fully. Now, if that person truly wants to die in their heart or have been convinced that they will, it is easy to just give up. It is easy to just allow yourself to take that last breath. But if you have that fight in you, ki, nahi, I want to wake up, I don't want to die. If you have the support of your family and friends, which is so important, if you know that, look, I'm going to wake up to my parents who love me, I'm going to wake up to my wife or my girlfriend, my husband who loves me, you will want it. You will urge for your body, will urge to just start moving to wake up. I'm not saying this works for every case. Obviously, some cases are worse than others, but it mental health power gives you a lot of strength. I stand by that. Can I give you a little example of what I've actually seen?
Yes, sure, yeah.
So my grandmother, my nanny, my maternal grandmother, she had passed away a few years ago. I was pretty close to her. She was on her deathbed for a very long time. She was on a ventilator, and she was basically just like immobile. She couldn't move, she couldn't talk. It was like a coma, basically. And everyone said that, okay, the next 2 days she's going to pass, the next 3 days, whatever, she's going to pass. And there was this one time in her room where the nurses and the doctors called us and said, "Ab time hai, ab," because her heart rate was deteriorating, her blood pressure, everything was going down very rapidly. It went down, and all of us are holding her hand or holding her leg or holding a part of her body. We're all touching. And some people are chanting a prayer, some people are chanting, we'll miss you, we don't want to live without you. Everyone but it's all powerful. The vibration in that room, I'm getting goosebumps now. That vibration was so powerful. Her heart rate hit a zero. When you hear the key, hit a zero. Within 2 seconds, her heart rate came back up. It just came up because something inside her gave her the strength. It was her family. She always lived for her family. She was like, they all lived with her, lived some, her grandkids lived with. So I think for the first time, everyone was together and praying for her and giving her so much love. I don't know what happened. I've seen this, I've witnessed it. She just came back. And after that, I think she survived another few days before passing.
Wow, that's really like miraculous.
Yeah.
Yes.
It really was so strong, crying and you guys were saying to her, and then he just started smiling. Nicer than what would have been.
Yes, that's really, yeah, that's really a very moving moment because yes, sometimes there are some factors which are just beyond us, and prayers do have a lot of power. Even I,
The power of your mind, your mental health, the love, your motivation, everything. It's all, a lot of it, I'm telling you, a lot of our health. Have you heard of like Louise Hay? Have you heard of, I don't know, like that psychologist, Bessel Van Gogh? All these people believe that things like trauma and things like uh, body aches and sickness and illness are so integrated, so related. That today, let's say I constantly have a bad back. Now I'm so young. How do I have such a bad back? But according to different practitioners, different psychologists, usually you have a bad back, not only posturally, but let's say you have financial issues and that kind of stress is constantly on you. Suddenly you'll have a bad back, or suddenly you'll get migraines. When you feel certain things. Now, when that is sorted emotionally, your mental, your physical state also starts to get better.
a lot of actually chronic pains do have a lot to do with mental health, which is underlying. And then there are, I mean, I've myself seen a lot of patients or cases wherein, they have done all the clinical testing, but they have just not been able to find the root cause. So it's got a lot to do with the mental health area, but people are still having a little bit of a stigma, like not little bit, actually quite a bit of a stigma. And yes, I mean there has to be a certain change in the way people look and perceive at these things. So so tell us, Shreya, how has it been? With your Moonlight services, how have you been able to structure, and what all? How do you help out people?
So we're actually quite new. I only properly started Moonlight in February. And I mean, I started in 2018, actually, end of 2018. But over there, at that time, it was just an online platform where it was a group of people. Anyone who wanted to join, most of them could join the group. And we'd kind of just talk through our day, our struggles. If someone's having some other issue, we talk about it there, and I kind of just try and supported them then. But of course, like I said, I worked in marketing, so my whole energy wasn't given to it. When I quit my job, I was like, you know what? Now I only want to do Moonlight. That is what I want to do. I don't really care anymore. I want to do that. So what we do here is, right when before the lockdown, of course, I was having like workshops, one-on-one sessions. In these workshops, our first workshop was actually called Reframing Critical Self-Talk, and in that we try to bring about self-love. Just the way we talk to each other is powerful, and usually the way we talk to each other comes from an authority figure, often a parent. So now today, let's say my parents today don't say to me that, that Shreya, you're not doing a good job. But as a child, let's say they said it to me a lot. If I didn't get an A or I didn't get a B in school. But today, even though let's say they're happy with what I'm doing, they have no issues. But I'm telling myself, Shreya, you could have done better. What is this, Shreya? Like if I tell myself all these things, it is usually a parent talking in your mind. It is usually coming from a parent. The voice is yours, but it stems from how your parents used to speak to you as a child. So this is where inner child integrative work is very important. That is something I like hugely practice on my clients, because I'm a trauma and abuse services. So a lot of people who come to me with trauma, with a lot of trauma. Trauma today stems from your childhood, not always, again often. Feelings of neglect, feelings of abandonment, feelings of rejection, all these things. If you're feeling them today, it often stems from how you felt as a child. It is your inner child that is wounded. We may be 20, 30, 40 years old, but there is that 6-year-old or that 3-year-old child or that 5-year-old or that 10-year-old child in us that is still so wounded by what maybe our parents have done, or what my uncle or done, my friend has done. It's so wounded that we have to heal that child. Today we think that, oh, it's in the past, it's gone. Ab kya hai? Why do we have to be upset about it now? We don't. But the child that experienced it lives inside us, and that is wounded. We have to take care of her. You don't have to call it you. It is a part of you. You can separate the two and call it her. She is wounded. My inner child is wounded. She got love as a child. She was abandoned as a child. She didn't, get any attention from her parents. Whatever the situation is. Now that if you today, as a happy, well medical practitioner, are feeling good about yourself, and feeling very successful, accomplished. But if you just sit quietly for 20 minutes in your room, you can try it after this, and just close your eyes and imagine as a child the last time you were hurt, or the last time you felt abandoned, or you felt neglected. Just experience that time wholly. Allow yourself to feel what you want to feel. And just tell that child, look, I'm so sorry that you went through this. I'm so sorry that you were abandoned as a child. I'm so sorry, not even as a child, you are talking to a child. So I'm so sorry you were abandoned. I'm so sorry nobody gave you the love that you deserved. I'm so sorry there was no tenderness in your life. And I promise you, as an adult today, as a responsible adult, I will give you love. I will give you attention. I will give you that tenderness that you crave for. You tell that inner child, pretend this 5-year-old child is standing in front of you, and you tell this child that. And in your mind, just hug the child. Keep your eyes closed. Hug this child and caress a part of your body that means something to you. Did your mother run her hands through your hair? Did she touch your thighs a lot? So while talking to this child, do that. Just keep doing this. You will find it so powerful. You will integrate with your inner child. You will that is you acknowledging the pain and healing yourself. Now, once you do that, that inner child will be so part of you. It'll be so wholesome. The wounds will be licked, and that inner child will be a happy inner child. And these feelings of neglect and abandonment will suddenly start to decrease over time. Now, one session is not enough. You have to obviously do a lot of work, therapeutic work. But this is one of my greatest approaches in a child work, for sure.
Okay, that sounds very interesting. Yes. Yeah, Shreya, and especially now during this current time, we are in this pandemic, and you must have heard that they say that your own glass has to be overflowing in order to really help out someone, because if you are not full within yourself, how are you really going to help others? And the battles which we are currently facing, like most of us are lucky enough that we are in the safety of our own homes, but there's a certain internal battle which we are all battling, we are all experiencing, because yes, externally there are frontline workers who are doing their best in order to ensure our safety, but yeah, there is certain constant battle which we are experiencing. So I mean, how are you coping up with this and keeping up with your well-being?
Honestly, I've not been the best example of keeping my own health safe right now because I actually run a domestic violence hotline. So during the COVID, I don't always, but during COVID right now, during the lockdown, I've started one. Um, so I'm getting very, very disturbing, distressing, very scary phone calls that leave me a little scarred. I mean, I'm no one to say I'm scarred. I mean, I can't imagine what these people are going through. There are, like I said, there are so many domestic rape cases, violence, all these things. And it ranges from an 8-year-old girl who's called me to a 25-year-old woman who's called me. And it just, you think, like today, even right now, I'm not taking that call. This maybe for 2 hours, 3 hours, I may not get a call. But during that time, I have a problem detaching myself from these calls. And now in my mind, I'm like, what do I do for this 8-year-old girl? What can I do for this 8-year-old? How do I help her? I just want to get out of it. And then it makes me think a lot of negative thoughts, a lot of, I'm hopeful, but also, a little scared. So I really don't know what to do in that case. But other than that, I'm trying to keep myself physically active. I exercise 1.5 hours a day. I'm trying to eat healthy. I think food is very, very important. Certain foods, kind of release certain hormones, certain acids which cause you to just be in a lower mood. Things like MSG, junk food, all of these things actually deteriorate your mood a lot. So I'm just trying to eat healthy, get my exercises done, make sure I have a little bit of a routine so that every day, even if I'm not being productive, at least every day at the same time I'm trying to do something. Every day at 5 I'll exercise, every day at 3 I'll do something, and that allows your brain to remain organized. That organization in your mind is very, very important. It's a form of decluttering. So at least I know what my days are going to be like, which means there's less anxiety. If I don't have a routine, I'm more anxious. Kal kya hoega? Kal kaise hoega? Kal kyun hoega? What am I going to do? How am I going to do it? What is going to happen? That is removed. Once that is removed, you can, you just have to take one battle at a time. Follow a routine. That's number one. Eat healthy. That's number two. Exercise. That's number three. I'm not saying do a very rigorous exercise. Do a little bit of yoga. Even if you want to do 20 minutes, just get your body moving. Get some endorphins running. That is also more than enough. Make sure you shower every day. A lot of people are like, abhi quarantine hai. Chalo, kal naha lungi, aaj nahi naha lungi. A lot of people have that, which is absolutely fine if you're indulging in your laziness, because after quarantine you can't. You want to just every day, otherwise there's a routine, 6 bajna padega, nहा के काम पे जाना पड़ेगा. But right now people are indulging in laziness. I would advise you against that. Make sure you're clean and organized, and don't remain messy just because it's lockdown. Don't take advantage of that, because then that affects your mental health. You feel dirty, you don't feel fresh. That's not nice. It's not nice to go through like that. So try and keep in touch with all of this, and I think that will really be helpful.
I'm sure very much. That's very true. Thank you so much, Shreya, for taking out the time and sharing in your experiences with us. And I really wish you all the very best with Moonlight services. And also, I wish you continue to bring hope in many lives. You continue to do the work which you're doing. So I would
Thank you
like
so much. So lovely of you to have me here. I was very happy to speak about my experiences, speak about Moonlight. And I just hope you're staying safe. I hope you're well, your family is well. Mentally, emotionally, it's a very taxing time, of course. So please do stay well. If anything at all, you can always call me or call anyone at Moonlight. We'll be happy to talk to you or your family. If you know someone who's distressed, please try and ask them to speak to someone. If not us, just try and open up to a family member itself. It can really help, So I'm really glad. Like I said, I'm so happy with the work you're doing as well. And I really hope to work with you in the future.
Most definitely. Thank you, Shreya. So, what I'm going to do also is that I'm going to put down all the links for all our viewers so that they can reach out and get the right guidance and services. So, that is something which I'll definitely do. And I want to tell all my viewers that you can reach out to Shreya, and also Shreya can help you out with further guidance as well as to who best she can in mental health. So. Thank you so much for watching, and if you found this video useful, please do leave us a comment and like the video. Take care, stay safe, and make Ayurveda a way of life. Namaste.